Representatives of main opposition parties in the Democratic Republic of Congo began talks in Pretoria this week. The talks are centered around achieving fairness in the 20th of December election and deciding on a potential joint candidate to challenge President Felix Tshisekedi. A total of 25 candidates have been approved by the DRC Electoral Commission to face Tshisekedi, who is seeking a second term. Campaigning only starts next week. Opposition candidates include Tshisekedi's old rivals, Martin Fayulu, former ExxonMobil executive, who came second in the disputed 2018 presidential vote. Millionaire businessman and former Katanga region governor Moise Katumbi is also in the running, and the Central African country's renowned Nobel Prize-winning gynecologist Denis Mukwege has also thrown his hat in the ring. Now, former Katanga State Governor Kabasu Babu Katulondi joins us for more on these DRC opposition talks. Sir, very good evening. I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming onto the show. Let's talk a little bit about the preparedness of this election, I suppose, to start off with. Just how prepared is the DRC for this upcoming election?
Well, thank you very much, and warmest greetings to the viewers. In fact, I'm a former governor of the Central Kasaï province. Well, as far as the electoral process is concerned, you have various point of views from the opposition, from the civil society, meaning the Catholic Church, Protestant Church, and many other international NGOs. As far as the opposition is concerned, they are not sure. They doubt that the Congolese electoral administration is ready for these elections in terms of the challenges, overwhelming challenges regarding the logistic transportation, the voting machines that are still in South Korea, but also what they consider as not being, the voters' roll, which is not transparent, and there are serious doubts about that. And also the fact that the Electoral Commission has not yet published actually the voters' lists all over the country. You see, it's a massive country. It's the second largest country in Africa, with challenges in terms of transportation, infrastructures, and so on and so forth. So the opposition and the civil society and many other experts have significant doubts regarding the feasibility of credible elections in the DRC.
So when we go back to the last election, I think that was 2018,
exactly.
If I'm not mistaken. Where was the lack in that election? Where were the shortcomings? And just how much would have need to have been done in the last 5 years, if you will, to ensure that this election is free and fair, or at least to achieve that state of readiness that we speak of?
First of all, we need to emphasize the fact that this round of elections, the aspect of inclusivity has been attained, because the previous elections in 2018, Moses Katumbi, who's the former governor of the Greater Katanga, was excluded because he couldn't enter the country. But there was a problem with regard to the voting machines, because not only they came also late, but it took time to get them conveyed to remote areas where, for example, aircrafts and normal land transportation like buses and trucks cannot reach. So they have to get there with like wooden boats and so on and so forth. With regard to that aspect, I think the challenge is still there. But the other challenge is also with regard to the complexity and intricacy of the technology used, the technology which was not really well explained to the candidates, and also the fact that the candidates themselves in the elections in 2018 were not really prepared. And that challenge is still a major preeminent right now because, as I indicated earlier, these candidates will have to travel all over the Congo, which is almost twice the size of South Africa, but with no roads and no, as we talk now, Congolese national airline is almost bankrupt. So it's a major challenge as far as not only the Electoral Commission is concerned, but the candidates themselves also.
So let's talk about your experience as a former governor and your insights into the country's political landscape. How do you perceive the impact of the current security crisis that is prevalent in the DRC on this upcoming election?
Actually, it is the history is sort of repeating itself because in 2015, actually, elections that occurred in 2018 were supposed to take place, I think, in 2016. And one of the factors related to or pertained to the very same M23 rebels that are actually right now in major combat with the Congolese army around the city of Goma. So this time also the M23, not only the M23, you have other militias such as the Codeco, Raia Mutomboki, and Yakutumba. So many militias because right now the Congo has got, like in the eastern Congo, has got like more than 100 militia groups. So that factor
100.
is 100. It used to be like 26. Now it's more than 100. Some folks talk about 120. So you've got a wide range of militias plus those militias, Rwandan militias who committed genocide in Rwanda but now have retreated into eastern DRC, plus the ADF terrorists who are actually on a murder spree in the Congo, going on rampage, killing and destroying infrastructure. So if you take that factor and you add it to the uncertainties relating to the logistics and also the technology and also the difficulties that candidates themselves face, so you have a formula, a recipe there that is going to really impede and hinder organizing credible, fair elections that can have a peaceful outcome in the country.
So let's talk about the Pretoria talks. Now, you have a number of opposition candidates, if you will, that have come into Pretoria to discuss what I would imagine is how they would all come together in a plan to overthrow President Felix Tshisekedi. Bring us up to speed with what the thinking is and what the plan is ahead of the December elections.
Again, history repeating itself. 2018, they also met in Geneva, in a place called, a city in Geneva called Genval. This time around, they've been invited by a South African NGO called In Transition Initiative. And there are three issues or three concerns or subjects. First one is trying to define the terms for selecting a common candidate. And the second issue relates to a common program so that if they designate a candidate, they are going to work together because certainly if they designate one candidate, surely they're going to have to position some of their the candidates also who will not be presidential candidate will position them in institutions. So they must have a common program. Then the third relates to sort of tackling or addressing, grappling with all these uncertainties that I've just underlined earlier on regarding the logistics, also the voters' role, because the Catholic Church and the Protestant Church, these are major religious organizations in the DRC. They really challenge the credibility of the voter role. So all these issues that are sort of hovering over the certainty of elections, they have also to tackle that, to say, how do we define the modality, the terms, so that we can work together, I mean, the candidates and the electoral commissions, so that they can address all these issues.
Now, you're talking about 25 opposition candidates. Are all of them represented in Pretoria? And what are they going to be looking for in this one individual who will speak the... What's the common thread? Because 25 is a large number, and I'd imagine that every single one of them has a different ideology on how they would run the DRC if they were a successful president.
The question is quite pertinent. There are 25, but some of them have really been sort of subcontracted by the incumbent just to create some kind of confusion. So those are not there. So the major ones, the more significant, are like Moses Katumbi, Dr. Mukwege, former Prime Minister Matata, Mr. Fayulu. So these are the major candidates. But as I indicated earlier on, they had, for example, Fayulu and Moise Katumbi. Unfortunately, Moise Katumbi in 2018 was excluded. So these are the major candidates whose representatives are there in Pretoria. So they're looking at the candidate who can sort of create some kind of cohesion among all these major candidates considered as authentic, not being sort of positioned by or manipulated by the incumbent. So they're going to look at somebody who has got an experience. somebody who's got notoriety in the country, but also internationally, but also somebody who has got an investment, because politics, for you to go into campaign, it is not sufficient to have brilliant ideas. You may have the most pertinent ideas, but you must have a political organization. You must have an investment in terms of your organization, the members, the voters, in terms of disseminating your ideas, but also in terms of political capital such as money and logistics. So they're going to look at all these factors. If you take, for example, Dr. Mukwege, of course he's got notoriety, internationally, Nobel Prize, but he's only known among the intellectuals, the elite urban area, sociologically speaking. Among your normal folks, he's not very well known. But somebody like Moses Katumbi has got experience, has got logistics, has got money, has got national, international notoriety as a developer, and so on and so forth. Matata is considered by many international experts of International Monetary Fund, UNDP, as among the best, he's not among, but he's the best prime minister Congo has ever had because of his economic performance when he was prime minister. So he has got that sort of asset. So they're going to look at all these components, all these facets, to position somebody who can challenge Mr. Tshisekedi.
Appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming up to the show. That was the former Kasaï Central Province Governor Kabasu Babu Katulondi speaking to us about the candidates ahead of the December election in the DRC.